What's your opinion on abortion? South America has some of the highest abortion rates in the world and it's treated as murder for those getting and performing abortion. Meanwhile, Western Europe has some of the lowest abortion rates in the world and it is perfectly legal. What's the difference? Easy access to contraceptives and sex education. Edit. Several have pointed out that I didn't state an opinion, just facts. My opinion is I absolutely hate abortion. But making it illegal does nothing to stop it and just drives it underground. Desperate people do desperate things and I would hate to go back to the days when desperate teenage girls are getting taken advantage by back-allied doctors with no medical training. Also, the list isn't meant to be all-inclusive, but sure, if you want to go down that road, let's address poverty, healthcare, and education and frame it as reducing abortion if that's what it takes to get conservatives on board. I'm all for it. Let's reduce abortion with universal, preschool to college education, and universal healthcare. Let's do this. If you want to prevent abortions, you have to educate the population on birth control and make it cheap, free and very easily accessible. I have no moral qualms with abortions. As someone who has one child and another on the way, I have a serious moral qualm with forcing a woman to go through an unwanted pregnancy, labor, and birth. That shit is brutal on her body and brain. I don't think abortions are a walk in the park either. The few people I know who went through one have said they suck, so I am very pro preventing the need for abortions. If you really want to lower abortion rates, several things can be done: legalize it, comprehensive sex education, easy access to pregnancy preventatives, centralized medical care, affordable if not tax-paid child care, acceptance of giving up children for a better life, open adoption for any qualified potential parents. Edit. Good points were made for affordable and/or tax-paid housing. That too would reduce abortion rates along with a minimum wage that goes up with the rate of inflation. Edit 2. Abortion access does not decrease abortion. It does make it safer for the mother. Eliminating access just increases the likelihood of death and harm to the mother. Abortion will happen regardless of it being legal or not. The goal is to make death and harm minimal concerning the mother. The rest above assists in having a child be less of a financial and, by association, emotional burden. Also, these above would benefit society as a whole, as this could increase the amount of workers, thus increasing the capital available to be used for social services like roads, schools, etc. Edit 3. Taxation equals free. Everyone pays their appropriate share. What it is supposed to do is give equal use of services and benefits for everyone. People you know, people you don't know, and yourself included gets these benefits. Edit 4. Thank you for the many rewards and upvotes. I do not feel I deserve the praise, but these are still appreciated. Hijacking the top comment. For anyone who needs an abortion, or may need one in the future, there is a wealth of online support available. AidAccess.org offer online consultations and will send out abortion pills by mail in the U.S., which are effective if you're less than 10 weeks pregnant. Plan C, plankpills.org, will also help find providers. WomanHelp.org offer a similar service internationally, and of course Planned Parenthood is an invaluable resource. Other options to find a clinic, since Planned Parenthood only performs 1/3 of clinic-based abortions in the U.S., include abortionfinder.org, Anidana.com, or Prochoice.org. The National Network of Abortion Funds connects U.S. people who need abortions to local funds that can help with the procedure through payment, transportation, childcare and other logistics issues. WomanOnWeb.org do the same outside America. In the UK, PIS.org and several other providers will offer consultations on the NHS and send the abortion pill by mail. And here are some lists of places that will do birth control online and by mail in the US, including morning after pills, which can still be effective 3-5 days after sex. There's also a network here on Reddit of people willing to help. I won't link them directly to avoid trolls, but shout if anyone wants a link. The easy access to pregnancy preventatives. I go a fair bit more far. going so far as to have the state specifically educate young girls as to their particular contraceptive options and strongly encourage them to confidentially choose one, from Norplant to IDS to hormone pill-based birth control or other options, meaning that young women are forearmed against becoming pregnant inadvertently, accidentally, and pregnancies is something that really only happens when women chose to allow the circumstances to be right. Also, following on what you said, I'd only add that having some sort of serious program for adoptive parents matched to pregnant mothers program that's as confidential as possible, as well as offering the full spectrum of options from counseling, to life skills education and planning to adoption and abortion. Supporting this critical decision framework is important. Of course, keeping abortion legal is the first step. Thanks for seeing beyond your opinion. I think that's important. 10 years ago, I got pregnant when my method of birth control failed. It was definitely a hard decision, but I took the abortion pill. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend, trying to get into nursing school and barely making ends meet. I also didn't recognize at the time that I was mentally unwell. Looking back now, the hard decision I made was the right one. I finished nursing school, married my boyfriend, got into therapy, and now we have a daughter that I can not only financially provide for, but have the mental and emotional capacity to care for her the way she needs and deserves. I never really liked Pete Buttigieg, but his answer to why abortion shouldn't be illegal, with the focus of the question was late stages, was one of the best answers to the question. This was on Fox News with Chris Wallace as well. Newsweek link: if it's that late in your pregnancy, then almost by definition, you've been expecting to carry it to term. We're talking about women who have perhaps chosen a name, women who have purchased a crib, families that then get the most devastating medical news of their lifetime, something about the health or the life of the mother or viability of the pregnancy that forces them to make an impossible, unthinkable choice. And the bottom line is, as horrible as that choice is, that woman, that family may seek spiritual guidance, they may seek medical guidance, but that decision is not going to be made any better, medically or morally, because the government is dictating how that decision should be made. No woman actively wants to have an abortion. I mean, that's a pretty dumb argument. The women that would get an abortion don't want to get pregnant. So without the pregnancy, of course there is no desire for an abortion, because there is literally nothing to abort. So we have to start with the assumption that the woman is pregnant. So then the desire is to abort to remove that status. The desire is for the allowance once pregnant to remove that status. That's a want. It's just silly to deny that. That it should be legally available for all women, without questions asked, with counseling available as an option but not required. That it should be financially accessible for all women, not just those in positions of privilege. I also believe that access to contraception should be improved, so that all women can access it without question or judgment, and for young men as well, so that the responsibility for contraception is shared. I believe that sex education needs to be provided for all young people, free of morality and religious good intentions, and that as a part of sex education there should be a lot of advice and assistance on understanding consent. I understand that most religions have a view on abortion, and those religions should feel free to have those opinions, to pray and lobby their government for change, and that government should remind them that if they want to have an influence on governance then they should pay taxes to support that. If you don't believe in abortion, don't have one. If you are someone who for whatever reason needs one, I hope that you have somewhere safe to go and get supported through something that is your decision and nobody else's. In general, even if you're pro-choice, no one wants to have an abortion. I view it as an economic issue where would-be parents don't want to bring a child to the world where the child will be subjected to suffering and inadequate care. Edit. There's a reason why I said in general. Multiple studies have shown that economic reasons has been the primary reason why PPL have an abortion, at about 70% plus. It doesn't mean that PPL with other reasons don't apply. You have your reasons, and that's okay. In an ideal world, abortion wouldn't exist because it wouldn't be needed. However, we don't live in an ideal world, we live in the real world, and abortion does exist. My opinion on abortion is that it should be legal, and for any reason, be it because of rape, quality of life for the baby, health concerns for baby or mother, or simply not being able to or not wanting to care for the baby. Late-term abortions should be avoided when possible in my opinion, and only really should be used in the case of health concern or other medical reasons. However, I also believe that abortions should come with a comprehensive sex education in schools, easy availability of contraception and birth control, and the ability to have an abortion at any age without the requirement of parental permission. All of this should help to drive down the demand for abortion and make it safer for everyone. I'm currently 36 weeks pregnant and I'm all for abortions. I chose to have this baby and fortunately I've never had to be in a position where I've needed to abort. However, women should be able to make choices about their own bodies. Carrying a baby to full term is not easy by any stretch of the imagination, so having to do that when you know that the baby is unwanted is abhorrent in my mind. Society won't care for a woman's baby once is born. They care more about a fetus than they do the life of a fully grown woman and a baby. Screw that. I think it's crazy that people expect you have a baby that you didn't want to conceive in the first place. I don't imagine there are many women out there having unprotected sex willingly with the thought of, oh well, if I get pregnant I'll just have an abortion. That seems like a pleasurable experience. Everything I have heard about the process is pretty traumatizing. Why expect someone to carry a baby to term and give birth to a child that will probably go through the pain that is the foster care system? We don't force people who contract STIs to live with them for life. Both are unwanted possibilities of unprotected sex. Legitimately, the only reason anyone would want to outlaw abortion is to punish the woman. I was raised to be against it. To those of us from that conservative and religious viewpoint, abortion supporters sounded like monsters to us. Infant murderers, saying, just a clump of cells, or, my body, sounds callous as hell. But, I got educated about it, and saw a different side of it. There's many things that can go horribly wrong with pregnancy. You can be gestating a child that literally has zero chance of surviving beyond minutes or seconds outside the womb. The conservative viewpoint says you can't know that for sure, but you can. Sometimes the organs will be exposed because the kid is born inside out. You know for an absolute fact that there is no way to fix that. There's absolutely nothing to be gained by dragging anyone through that. I also found out that conservative authorities lie outright about the trauma to the fetus. The fact remains that for a large portion of the pregnancy, it has not developed the nervous system needed to register pain, or psychological trauma. This is why people say, just a clump of cells. It's true, but I still wish people were more willing to explain with less callous language. I don't think slogans like that really help at all. I know someone that got pregnant with their third child this year, and did not really want this kid, and probably not the other two, either. She seems to have severe postpartum depression, coupled with a lack of patience for small kids. I fear for her kids. I have mixed feelings about her, but also found it difficult to not feel bad for her as she cried when her test came up positive. When she was crying about it, an abortion would have solved so many problems. She was so early in the pregnancy that it would have been very undeveloped, and to consider that a loss would have been like crying over every menstrual cycle. The couple was using condoms, and the pill, but reportedly the condom broke. The morning after pill would have been the best solution possible. She wanted it, but it was too late. She expressed a desire for an abortion, but the father and her friend were dead set against it, literally forbade it. The young mother is a suicide risk, and abuse is probably in store for all of those children. You can't tell me that this woman isn't getting an abortion because it's about respect for life. When I was a kid, the churches all supported life over abortion, citing the Bible. I thought it was legit for a long time, even into my 20s. But guess what? The Bible supports abortion. It literally has directions for how to give women a bitter herb that results in an abortion that can also kill the mother. Why? In case the father is afraid the baby is not his. It was thought that if she was legit, the fetus and mother will survive the abortion, and if she dies, it's because God knew that she was a whore. I haven't been a Christian for years, but this exposed the whole thing as a political tool as far as I'm concerned. Lastly, a couple of years ago my mom was gifted with a baby goat. It was given away because it was born with a problem that made it difficult for it to thrive. We had to bottle feed it, and even with that, it had a difficult time feeding. We thought it would benefit from a visit with its mom. You probably know what's coming. The mom yeeted the baby, and killed it. It died slowly, over the course of a few hours. That's nature's answer. As humans, we have the capacity to handle these matters in a way that's much less cruel than nature, or even the Bible would. The abortion debate simply empowers conservative politics. Nothing more. People vote based on this one issue. Their representatives pretend that's what they care about, but no, they're not overturning Roe vs. Wade that easily, and just shrug when it doesn't work. They use people's horror over the idea of baby murder to gain unchecked power, and their constituents never see that. I personally don't like the idea of abortion and wouldn't ever get one myself, but there is a necessity to it. Without the option of abortion for women, the rates of unwanted pregnancies, orphaned, abandoned children, depression, suicide and other numerous things would skyrocket, not to mention the deaths that would occur from the self-done abortions that definitely aren't safe for the women. Sometimes there are more important things than embryo. I'm pro-life, but pro-choice. And anyway, why would anyone want people who don't want children to be parents? It's like a recipe for abuse and neglect. And another note, that decision of abortion should definitely not be in the hands of a man. It can and will not be someone else's choice what a woman can or can't do, experience with their own body. Not my call. I'm a man. Maybe women should be the only ones answering that, since it's something that is happening to them and them alone. If I woke up and the US was ruled by women, I sure as hell wouldn't want them writing laws about my reproductive organs, especially if the consequences forever altered my body and had 18 seconds of severe financial and free time hardship attached to it. But personally, I don't care either way. Not like I've been getting laid. Earth is toast whether you have a baby or not. All of you do what you want. I'm smart enough to look outside the box, and I know why abortion is such a hot topic. I know what this is really about, and it sure isn't about the small packet of cells has rights or a soul or whatever. Leave me out of your ignorance and gullibility. I've got far bigger issues to worry about. I believe everyone has their own choice over their body. As someone who was terrified of pregnancy my entire life due to the abstinence-only education I received in the South, I didn't get pregnant until almost 2 years into my marriage, 24. And even then the panic, anxiety I felt at that decision was palpable. My husband didn't believe me for the first week, until I peed on a stick he bought. I don't envy the strength some women have to go through with the process. As in my stable situation, we decided to keep the baby. The fact that I had a decision about my future was such a pivotal point for me. I have always been pro-choice. Even if I didn't exercise that choice, I believe other women have the right to do that. The 9 months of pregnancy is very hard on you, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, and I wanted the baby. I can't imagine how immeasurably difficult it must be to be forced to carry an unwanted baby to term, whether it's adoptive or stillborn. The emotional trauma is real. The services provided by abortion clinics like Planned Parenthood actually cover so much more than abortion. Planned Parenthood is about planning your parenthood too, not just canceling it. In high school about 10 years ago, I had the view that it was murder, and I did multiple projects on the subject. I had read somewhere that there are families that are on wait lists wanting to adopt mentally challenged adults. If that was a reason for Romeo wanting to abort, however, not that I've gotten some life experience, I would say that that viewpoint has changed. At the end of the day, it is her body and she can choose what to do with it. It is a complicated question. Answer: I once dated a guy and his mother had been date raped, and he was the result. He would tell me that she would openly blame him when she was upset at him. Seems to me that messed him up as well. If you don't want to have the child, get an abortion. As long as the pregnancy hasn't advanced to the point where the fetus could actually live if it was born in that moment, and abortions generally aren't performed in those cases, anyway. It's not a person. The people who consider an embryo to be a person are idiots. Might as well consider sperm to be a person. It's like saying that not planting an acorn is literally the same thing as cutting down a tree. Aborting an unwanted pregnancy is far more humane than giving birth to a child that you're not interested in raising or capable of caring for. If children were born only to parents who truly want them and have the resources to give them a good upbringing, the world would be a vastly better place.